I think if you go live,
Yeah, how do I do that?
if just like if you went live on Facebook regular, we live over here. Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio, place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Live. We got a special guest in the building. We got a warrior who's been sojourning out here and bringing us the real, facing adversity and dealing with the reorientation of the psychology of our people around doing for self and being self-determined. So let's welcome to the platform our warrior brother and comrade, Brother Ramzu Yunus. Welcome to the show, brother. How you feeling?
Salute everyone. Peace. Yeah. Feeling great, feeling fantastic. Glad to be here. Of course, it's a struggle going on, but it's a beautiful struggle. It's part of our destiny, and I'm glad to be playing my part in it. So I feel good just by knowing I'm doing what is my duty. Thank you for being on this show, for inviting me to be here.
All right. So give us kind of like a walk out of everything that you could be doing. What was it about this particular way of life? What got you started? How long you been doing it?
That's a great question. No one has ever formulated it in that manner. Out of everything I could be doing, what made me be doing this? Because definitely
Right.
this is not anything that anybody we have to be enjoying life. But when you come to a certain awareness that you're not even really living a life when you're in this condition that our people are in, you have to do something about it. Me, myself, I first came to the awareness, a familiar route, which I hope many don't have to follow this route, but it was the Malcolm X route, I call it. When you're in prison, you get enlightened. And I was in prison, went to prison as a teenager, behind street life, selling drugs, ended up shooting somebody, and went to prison for that for some years. But inside of that prison sentence, of course, that's when I became enlightened. And I dedicated myself to, first of all, studying and edifying myself and transforming myself while I was in there. And I said, once I get out, I'm going to hit the ground running for liberation of our people so that we won't be in these same conditions that got me inside of that prison and even others into the grave and the overall condition of poverty that we face that leads to all the crime and things that we commit and the mental illness that we suffer from. So I just dedicated myself to, hey, I'm just getting out, I'm going at it. I got out and called myself going at it, but of course, I was young when I got out of prison. I was about 21 years old. So I was trying to follow behind different leadership. So I'm searching, see who's about that life, so to speak, that I can get involved in and be a top soldier behind. But then I witnessed that a lot of things was not resonating with me that was going on. It seemed to be just a lot of rhetoric going on, great speakers and stuff. I still admire those great speeches till this day. But I knew it had to be something else, and I was too young. I didn't know what else. So eventually, I just immediately I said, man, I'm just leaving this country, period, because I read Marcus Garvey while I was in prison, and he became one of my biggest heroes. I said, man, I want to go to Africa. So I just went to Africa, started going to Zimbabwe in particular, because at that same time, Robert Mugabe and the Revolutionary Party, governing party of Zimbabwe, had started the land reclamation program. They was taking land back away from those white settlers and giving them to the people. So I said, that's where I need to be. So I went to Zimbabwe. And from there, I ended up moving to Zimbabwe. So I'm getting out of America, period. I moved to Zimbabwe, engaged in certain things, started even working with Mugabe and his government. But one thing led to another, and I said, no, I'm going back home on a mission. Just like these people are independent and govern themselves, we have to push the same thing amongst our people. We have a right to govern ourselves, even where we live in America. So I wanted to come home and decided to come home to push something unique that I didn't see being pushed. So after 9 years living in Zimbabwe, I returned back to America. I had to pray on and meditate on what place to go in America, and I decided to come to Detroit. I saw it as being in perfect condition to launch this mission. So I came to Detroit and we launched the Black Independence Movement. So that's why I'm here now, through that long journey here in Detroit, pushing Black independence here and elsewhere in America, wherever we live.
So what was it like being over in Africa, and can you kind of talk about that relationship that you observed between us in the diaspora and those on the continent, particularly in the area that you were in? Can you kind of give us like an assessment?
Yes, I mean, of course, it was great back in the motherland, just home. You feel it before you even get off the airplane. When you get in the air space of Africa, you feel that you're home. You feel a certain energy. So when I got there, the energy was loving. Everybody, hey, they look at us as long lost people from Africa in America. And of course, a lot of people in the world, almost the whole world, admires and follows and idolizes Black people in America. So it was a good thing. Then being amongst that part of Africa and Zimbabwe in particular, the country has a revolutionary spirit, revolutionary mentality, being that they had just, they haven't been free long. They just basically won their independence a few decades ago, in a war that they had against Europeans. So, of course, they welcome Black people, especially someone with the mindset that I have. I'm agree with warring against Black people or white people. Black and white is an ongoing war. So, of course, we share the same spirit. But overall, the diaspora, we need to interact more with Africa. Of course, we're long removed from there, so we don't even feel a sense of it being home unless we get in touch with our roots, people like me and yourself in the conscious community. But of course, most of us, we're taught to look at Africa in a bad light. Even myself, when we were young, calling each other African booty scratchers and so forth. So we kind of moved away and became ashamed of Africa. But there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a great place. People are beautiful, have a loving spirit, the same loving spirit that allowed the Europeans to come in and conquer them. They still have that same spirit. But we are different people. We're in the belly of the beast, so we can take our spirit over there to let them people know they got to be a little more careful. But overall, it's a needed marriage. We got to go back and at least connect. Even if we don't move over there, we must connect back with the motherland and work hand in hand, because this is a worldwide struggle that we're in against the same enemy.
All right, so now I got to flip it down to like Central South America, because you were there as well. Now, what was that relationship like? So now we're looking, because we noticed that there's a perceived divide in regards to our relationships there, even though there are more Africans there than there are here in the United States. So what was that relationship like going from the mother continent to another place in the diaspora with a high concentration? What are their feelings about us there?
Yes, well, the first country I went to is Venezuela. When it was under the leadership of the late President Hugo Chavez, he implemented certain programs and with Africa, because he even hosted conferences between Africa and South American continent. So just to connect, because he realized and acknowledged his African roots. And of course, as you just said, the largest percentage of Black people on this side of the globe is in South America, not in America. So it's a lot of us down there. And of course, wherever Black people are, I don't care if it's Muslim country, Christian country, whatever country, Black people are going to be treated the worst. So even down there in South America, there's racism going on. Black people at the bottom of the ladder there as well, because those people are also colonized by Europeans, and they still have a colonized mindset. And the people still on the top are those of Spanish descent. Now, note, everybody down there, that's not a Spanish descending country. That's a Spanish colonized continent in South America. So you still have those same, inequalities in the society there, where Blacks on the bottom, lighter skinned whites and mixed ones are on the top. But of course, when you're dealing with governments like Venezuela, They are more friendly and with Black countries. They're trying to unite with them because it may not be out of just love for Black people, but out of a love for themselves and the realization that we all have the same enemy. So they were embracing. And I went down there because I was connected. We were doing certain business between Africa and Venezuela. I was working with President Mugabe, representing his office, and that's how I got to go there and meet the president there. It was a president-to-president business that we were doing. I was representing the president of Zimbabwe's office, so we got to interact on the highest level, and that relationship still stands to this day. That's why I was just there this year in South America, Colombia, Venezuela, and other places. So the relationship is great. Of course, there's racism, but it's the environment, of course, is as well as like Africa, loving environment. An environment of struggles. Everybody is suffering. But as long as they acknowledge who the enemy is, we always can work together and be friends against that enemy.
So for those two places that you mentioned, both Africa and Venezuela and places in South America, what could we do better to improve our relationships, practically beyond, philosophical or social alliances? What could we do, concretely to kind of forge and solidify those bonds?
Yeah, I mean, of course, a lot of relationships are built business-wise. The commercial system runs everything, the economic affairs of the world, but those economic affairs are dominated by a certain group of people. So, and they control how that currency, how that commercial system runs. So what we can do is we got to build alternative systems or an alternative system to interact with each other in ways that can benefit each other. They're always talking about people always asking the question, what can we do for Africa? What can we do for our people in South America? Number one thing that we can do here is we have to actually gain some power over ourselves and over our situation so we can interact with them. Because now America controls those interactions, and they even ban and block those interactions because they control them. So we, first of all, number one thing we can do is get control. Once we have that kind of control ourselves, political control, which equals economic control, then we can properly interact and assist our brothers in South America, Africa, wherever they may be.
I was getting there. I had to do a little walk into that. So since since we're there right now, can we talk about this organization, how it got started, what's the goals, the aims, the mission, and what's it been like thus far for you?
Yeah, well, the organization says, the people. Power is to the people. Political power is inherent in the people. The people, all peoples, have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. That's the first article in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So our duty is that first article is self-determination. Every peoples on the planet Earth, including the white peoples in Europe and the white people on this side of the ocean, they invoke that right. They realize that, look, we have a right to choose political status. If we don't like the way we're being governed, government is something instituted by people. Government is not born over people. It's not a natural construct. It's something constructed by naturally constructed people. So we put that government there to guarantee our safety and happiness. But if that government does not meet those ends, then we can overthrow or just put off or do away with that government, alter or abolish it. And particularly if you are a special people, different people than those who govern you and those who rule over you. Here in America, we are governed by white people. That's what democracy means. It means ruled by the majority. The majority is white. So the minority always has an option to govern themselves instead of participating in a system that's inherently wrong. I was reading even last night, going over a term called tyranny of the majority. Whenever you have a majority and a minority, there's always going to be tyranny of the majority. The majority going to want what they want. They're going to get what they want because they are the majority. And that's oftentimes against the interests of the minority. So the minority must exercise their right to govern themselves, so they inside of their own majority. And also because we were not given that choice after slavery to go for ourselves, the 40 acres and a mule, and determine our own political course, economic, social, and cultural development, we were co-opted to become that subject class citizens inside of American white democracy. So we're pushing, and first of all, making our people aware, number one right is self-determination. We have a right to stand up and govern ourselves wherever we live. We don't have to move off into the wilderness, the desert, or anywhere. Wherever we are, we can stand up and say, look, we're going to govern it ourselves, whether it be in Detroit, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, wherever, even small towns, Mayberry, wherever there's Black populations, you have a right to govern yourselves and do away with white government, white police, and white economic systems that benefit only their interests. So that's what the push we're doing. We're letting people know, become aware, first of all, of the right of self-determination. Besides being a mere slogan and term we celebrate during Kwanzaa, it's the cardinal principle in international law, especially for those who want to overcome oppression. So we're just pushing for people to look, first of all, learn that you have a right of self-determination. Now let's stand up and organize behind that right of self-determination. Let's organize ourselves. If we want reparations, monetary reparations, which everybody does want, if we want an ending of police terrorism, if we want an ending of wrongful convictions, if we want an ending of gentrification, then we can stop that. We don't have to plead and beg the system to stop something when we are the ones who authorize that system with our consent. Let's withdraw our consent from it and consent to control and govern ourselves. That's law. If white folks was in our conditions, they would be doing what we're pushing, because that's how this country was formed. They did just what we're talking about right now. They decided that, look, we have a right of self-determination. Nobody can just govern us if we don't want them to govern us. So we're going to stand up and say, look, we don't want you anymore. We're declaring our independence. We'll govern ourselves. And if you don't agree with it, then we'll go to war, which they end up doing. And that's the route that many nations, many people, all peoples, not many, all peoples around the world have chosen that route, because that's the only way to guarantee justice, to guarantee whatever we want or we cry out for, reparations. We guarantee it when we take control and give it to ourselves. So that's what we are pushing. That's our objective, to take control over all Black areas in America, independent political control.
So can you share with us a little bit of that process, kind of what that looks like initially, organizing and working with the people to get them out of an oppressive, interdependent mindset and into a mindset of self-governance and self-empowerment?
Yes, sir. Of course, it's an uphill battle amongst ourselves because we are demoralized. We don't think we can govern ourselves. We don't think we can go against the white man and overcome his system. So first of all, we have to fight demoralization. But here in Detroit, we've had some good success, and we're still progressing, and we're planning on taking this city over by the end of this year. Even if you go to my Facebook page, not Facebook page, the Facebook page, but YouTube channel, which is easier to navigate, Ramzu Yunus, you'll see some videos of what's been happening in Detroit, where we first initiated this movement, where tens of thousands of people are responding and standing up, so much so that it frightened the government. And actually, the federal government came in and took over the case and the situation and organized things to block us from assembling, to take over the city lawfully. It's not a violent takeover, it's just a lawful takeover that involves the people standing up. So they're doing anything in their power, or all things in their power, to discourage the people and try to block, even blockading downtown from the people gathering, as they saw tens of thousands gathering almost 2 years ago. So it's the results, as far as the response from the people, is great, because once the people find out what we are pushing, it's going to resonate with them. If you ask somebody, do you want reparations, for instance, do you want $100,000 each? Yes, you do. Do you want free housing? Yes. Do you want exoneration from criminal charges? Do you want to free your brothers and sisters and loved ones from the prison? Yes. Do you want overall justice and control of your own environment? Yes. Now you just tell them how it can be done and say, look, it can be done if you do this. Do what? Well, we've been calling on assemblies. First of all, assemble. Assembly is powerful, but we've been assembling for the wrong thing. Even now, my state constitution where I'm from and the state constitution where I live now, Michigan, in Detroit, the state constitution itself says you have a right to assemble. Assemble to do three things: to consult each other, to petition or protest, but also to give instructions, because people have power to give instruction. So we're assembling with it, using that power to instruct our officials that you are finished with and expressing the public will of the people. Vote, and that's a form of voting. Voting is just an expression of the will of the people. You can do it by various ways: by paper ballot, by a show of hands, by a vote. That's making the public will known, expressing the public will. And once the public will is expressed, it has to go. Government and society has to bend to the public will. So we're assembling our people by the masses. And then when they're trying to block those assemblies, we even going block by block, as we're doing now, getting the people to withdraw their consent. We have our own ballots and withdrawal of consent forms. And once we have a majority, even on one block, who withdraw their consent, now the government has no power, and that block can be formed into an autonomous zone. So we're creating autonomous zones block by block. And after that, or at the same time, we are assembling and organizing officers. That's why I have on this uniform. All we need now is officers to secure our transition into independent control. So that's the process. In international law, even as well as local law, if you want to form a city, but if you want to form a nation in international law and according to their principles, you need three things. You need an area that you want to become independent. You need a population that consents, at least a majority that consents to that independence. And you need a governing body to govern that transition and manage that nation. So now we have our governing body, we have our city councils, we're creating all over America. We have a territory, we're marking our cities, or even if it's just 6 blocks, we're marking that territory. So now we just need the consent of the people, and then it's official. 2 months ago, the people of Seattle first took over just 6 blocks. They took over just 6 blocks and called it the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. And the whole world recognized the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Even some of the officials that I work with in other governments, they recognized, and they was proud to see such a move being made in America, even by those who should be the number one, even though it was made by those who are not made by those who should be the number one people doing it. It was made by those who are already benefiting. But it definitely was an example set inside the territory of America of the power of the people. So we have that same power. So now we're just convincing people that you do have that power. That's empowerment. We don't have to push for Black empowerment. We already have power. We just got to exercise that Black power and stand for our right of self-determination.
So I know in this time, indiscriminate to what it may look like on the surface with a lot of things happening. I know if you're moving around outside the country, outside this nation and inside this nation, there is some kind of something going on behind the scenes, with the proposed powers that be. So I know it would have to be some kind of something in talks or conversation or concessions or something like that. If you see all of this money that's being thrown around, they're throwing it around for a reason, So could you kind of speak to that as it relates to moving towards self-determination? These entities want to kind of remain in power, so I think they're doing a lot of, these other things that are going on to continue the illusion.
Yeah, of course, all these things done is to stop the inevitable. Well, they already know, because it's not just written in the scriptures. It's just written in the laws of nature that no people will always remain suppressed. So you got to invoke certain measures and activate certain measures to keep them people from rising up. So those measures, of course, mean making the people docile, pacifying them. So they want to give us pacifiers, throwing us a few bones here and there. That's pacification. to keep us from wanting something, because right now, of course, as you see, we're erupting. Poverty has been pressing us down and making us kind of hostile, but of course that hostility has been targeted toward each other. But with more awareness, of course, that hostility will begin to be targeted toward those who deserve that hostility. But how do you pacify hostility? Throw those with a hostile attitude, throw them something to pacify them. So they want to give us various things. They even now want to start discussing reparations. Discussing that. They're never going to give it to us, but they want to discuss it. So now we can slow down and say, look, they're in discussion, so we don't have to go all out right now, because maybe they'll give it to us. In some of the countries, many of the countries that I've traveled to around the world, when they was fighting for their independence, of course, the powers that be at the time when they was fighting, or who they were fighting against, started trying to throw them pacifiers. Even in Zimbabwe, when they was in their armed struggle, the government even tried to make a black president, but the rebels would not accept a black president. They knew that that was just a pacifier for them. So the same thing is happening here. They gave us a black president. Now they're trying to give a black vice president. They're giving us money, little stimulus checks, etc. They've been putting us on welfare. So all of these things are just pacifiers, but we know that we can live, and those of us who understand, we're trying to make everybody understand, we can live way much better than a small stimulus check. We have big stimulus checks. We can live way much better than being in public housing. We can have real public housing that belongs to the public. We can live free. We can be at peace. There won't be any more police around us, because there won't be even a need for police, because poverty is the mother of crime, and we can easily get rid of poverty. So all of these mechanisms that they have in place to try to stop the rise of black people, first of all, they're going to fail, because there's too much awareness out there, but they don't even have the resources to completely pacify us. They don't have those resources. So I fret not about what they're doing. I just laugh at whatever they're trying, because I know it's going to fail.
Okay, so for people who want to get involved, I understand you have a platform, you have some things going on throughout the week. And can we talk about those things? How long you've been doing those, and what's kind of been the response of people coming in after that shift in thought takes place and people actually starting to want to move towards autonomy?
Yes. Well, we have our platform, of course. Number one platform most people have been signing up for was reparationsbank.com. We have a reparations wallet portal, which we even put funds in already, but we have virtual funds there based on the assets that are in the black community, based on the deals that we do have with several countries, namely Venezuela and Iran. We have over 600 billion plus in petroleum deals with them. But of course, we can't even access those deals, even get involved in those deals, because they are against the laws of this country called the United States, which means we have to be independent, have independent political status to engage in them. And we have to have control over our communities in order to even activate and the asset value that we have in our community, over $15 trillion in real estate assets alone, where black people live. If we take control, we can leverage that. But one of our first ports of call is reparationsbank.com. You can sign up and get your reparations account. We also have freehomes.info. That was the big one that hit here in Detroit. We told the people, look, all these hundreds of thousands of properties in Detroit, they belong to the people. Let's organize ourselves and give them to ourselves. So tens of thousands of people, up to 5,700 people per day, were signing up for free homes here in Detroit, and organizing to take political control so that we can possess these free homes. So we have that portal. Also, iunite.app, www.iunite.app. That's the whole program of the people. Also explains what we've been doing, explains the moves and how you can join, become a human rights policy officer or a city council member in your city. Just click on the enlist button on that website. You can fill out the form, and we have our conference calls and calls amongst the different states and cities as well, their own calls as they organize themselves. You can find that again at iunite.app. We need all hands on deck to make this happen. Response is great. We like I said, we have tens of thousands of people signed up just in the first month, especially when we launched reparationsbank.com in late December, early January. I think I was actually in South America at the time. We was making those deals with Venezuela, et cetera, to move the fuel to be the fuel which you can use the resources from that to become more autonomous economically. So those are the platforms. We have a hotline, I'm gonna type the hotline here, 888-999-6530, a 24-hour hotline. That hotline, you can ask any questions involving the movement and get answered. Our conference call, 701-791-9664. We have those conference calls 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. So you can call in, hear what's going on, and ask questions. We try to avail ourselves as much as possible so people can understand this is real, and ask questions if you don't believe and think what's real or don't have a good understanding. We avail ourselves to give people the understanding because we don't know. So we act like we don't know by continuing to vote within this system and continue to promote and uphold this system so let's become aware. So we invite you all to participate and become aware, and also to put that awareness into action.
So you say every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Do they call the same number, or do they call another number, or is there a place with a link? Or
yeah, 701-791-9664 is the conference call line. Conference call 701-791-9664. The conference call is 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes we increase the calls. Before last month and prior, we had them 7 days a week, actually. That's how busy we were trying to get the message out as we prepare for our gathering on July the 4th. So sooner or later, we may increase it back to at least 6 days a week.
all right, so I got the conference call number. I got this number to call in, that hotline 24/7. Call in and tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tell your people, let's help get this word out. You understand what I'm saying? You can see what's going on. You got the rouge out there, where the fools that are operating to keep this thing going. They got fake concessions. They got people out there shaking their fists and painting streets and all this other stuff on the rouge side. And you really have an active organization here with practical application tools that you can use, and not just some empty vain talk to self-grandize. So let's look at this organization and dig deep and look to see the way to play our part. The last question I asked you before we wrap in, I give you a chance for closing remarks. This whole wealth transfer crypto situation, is your organization involved in that at all? And could you kind of speak to that, if y'all are, in regards to that shift in mindset? Because we've been taught cash is king for how long? And if you have a failing corporation, so to speak, you also have a failing monetary system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's what reparationsbank.com is. Actually, our own currency, digital currency. It's like a cryptocurrency, so we can transact between each other. All nations have their own currency. The currency doesn't necessarily mean paper currency. Digital is the wave of the future. It's a necessary evolving of currency systems, because of course money will always become a short supply, because you're going to lose money. Even if you lose 1 penny a day, eventually you're going to be in short supply. So that's inevitable. I've been in countries where that supply has ran out quickly because a lot of people in those countries travel outside of the country. They take the country's currency with them. So digital is a perfect and better form of transacting, but we must have our own digital currency. So, and it's so easy to form now, thanks to technology. We don't have to have the plates to print out all of these dollars and security features, et cetera. Just have a currency with blockchain or whatever kind of technology to make it secure. Then we can transfer our wealth, and it doesn't necessarily have to be backed with gold. The biggest thing that backs currency is human capital. What will you do for this makes it valuable. So if we all agree to do something use our human capital for the same currency, that's what powers that currency, not any storage of silver or gold. That's a misunderstanding amongst us. But so, yeah, definitely we agree and want to take part and are taking part. Reparations Bank or the reparations.app, it's a digital wallet of our own currency. So we are already involved in that. Great question, brother, but that's a necessary evolution for the people.
Okay, I give you some time to share your final thoughts, your message, whatever you want to get out to the people, kind of orient the people back around again, how to reach you, any acknowledgments you want to, anybody you want to acknowledge, and anything else you have coming up that you want to have our attention.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And this platform and acknowledge other platforms and acknowledge individuals. We all are a platform. So we must use our platform to push the right message, to push awareness. As Jesus said in the scriptures, let's become fishers of men. So we must use our platform to become fishers of men. Why was he needing fishers of men? Because he was fighting Roman democracy. He needed population to overcome that democratic system. We need population, so we have to spread awareness. So I salute to you, yourself, and all individuals who have platforms and are using those platforms in the proper manner. Salutes all those who are with us, the organization, the people, the human rights policy officers, the council members who are in different cities throughout America, spreading awareness of self-determination. We're not trying to just build an organization. We're trying to organize a people to take control of their only organization that matters, and that organization is government. So people, let's go for government, for governing ourselves. Let's invoke our right of self-determination. Let's stop submitting to evil, because all of us are acknowledging that it's evil, but we're submitting to it and saying, well, I have to choose the lesser of evil. That means you are evil yourself and you are a slave to evil. We're not slaves to evil. We don't want this continued onslaught against our people. We don't want that. So if you don't want that, I know you don't. If you want prosperity and peace for yourselves, ourselves, let's invoke our right of self-determination. Let's withdraw consent. We are only dominated by our own consent. If we don't want to submit our will to the system, we don't consent to it, let's withdraw our will. Let's withdraw our consent and begin to govern ourselves. Where we live, the community is yours. The policing thereof belongs to you. The power of the policing belongs to you. The power of the government belongs to you. You are empowered. Execute that power that you have. Nobody has to come and give you power. You have power. They're out there searching for your power right now. That's why they're campaigning for you to use your power to authorize them. So we're campaigning as well for you to use your power to authorize yourselves so you can give yourselves a better life. It's on us, brothers and sisters. Everything is in these hands right here. So let's utilize our power and authorize our own hands to give us freedom, justice, equality, prosperity, and peace. Love you all. Love you, brother. Thanks for having me on your show. Let's continue the good fight.
So where can people find you via social media? And
you can find me on YouTube, Ramzu Yunus, RAMZUYUNUS. Facebook, which are where I'm most active at, is Ramzu Yunus as well, RAMZU, last name YUNUS. We try to stream some of our conference calls there. We share videos and share information, so you can find me mostly on Facebook. We're trying to start using Instagram more and Twitter. We do have those accounts, but the main place is Facebook and videos on YouTube. You see the websites listed here. You see the conference call. We on those conferences throughout the week, try to avail ourselves. So just reach out. We are there. Become part of the movement for your city as well.
Yeah, I see the conference call on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tomorrow and Friday this week. Got the phone number 701-791-9664 conference call. Also, we'll go back up to the website, check out this website. www.reparationsbank.com and www.iunite.app. So go do your research, and then they got these opportunities to ask questions on the research that you do. So we do the knowledge over here. So let's do the knowledge and let's get empowered. Let's get on this path towards self-determination truly, no longer will talking be enough. Talking begins, that's that activation process. But once you activate it, you got to get in action. Inaction is to our detriment. Action is to our benefit. So I definitely want to thank you, my brother, for coming on and, making it plain. And, hopefully we could get you back at least once a month to kind of, just be another way station for you and your organization and for our people to, continue to let us know what's going on. And as we go and grow together, continue to be another place to get the word out. So we won't have to just get the word out no more. We'll be in play.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. I appreciate you, my brother. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, salute.
All right, family, we out of here. I want to thank our brother, Ramzu Yunus, for coming through, and everybody who tuned into this broadcast. Will be live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our sister on the West Coast, Miss Zero Horn, will be in the building. So, Dad, say peace, love, black power. See you at 3.
Yeah. Now we gonna tell them. That in front. We tell them like this, yo. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a African. Yeah, y'all like that? No more. This man's mind is open. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a. Let's get back to the
motive is best developed by recognizing the common enemy.